Welcome back. If you're watching this, that means that I had the stamina and the guts to film another one of these videos. I'm Jess. This is my second video on pregnancy, birth, labor. If you haven't watched the other video, it's a lot about how I prepped and am prepping my environment for a home birth, things that I have in the apartment ready to go. This video is going to be more focused on how I'm prepping my body, how I've done things a little bit differently in my routine since being pregnant. A lot of this is going to be my experience and not a prescription. So keep that in mind. A lot of this is per the instruction and direction of my midwife after decades of experience. Okay, so I want to start off by saying I am a complete noob. I've been learning a lot in the last 6 months and it can be very overwhelming. It's kind of like when you get married and you're expected to be an expert on how to be a wife, or when you get engaged and you're expected to be an expert on how to plan a wedding. Sometimes you just get pregnant and are all of a sudden expected to know how to change your routine and your lifestyle to support building and growing a baby, and also how to prepare for becoming a parent. I wasn't trying to get pregnant. It was very overwhelming for me and realized that I knew nothing about being pregnant. So naturally, I sprung into research mode. Before I'd even started thinking about being a mom and like telling my husband that we were pregnant, I started thinking about, do I even have a prenatal that I can get access to right now? So that's a lot of what this last 9 months has entailed, me just researching the heck out of everything and the marathon that I'm preparing for. I think my motivation behind all of this has been the thought that labor is a marathon and you don't just show up to a race if you're gonna be running a marathon and hoping that running a mile every now and then will get you through to the finish line. I have wanted to do things on a daily habitual routine to prepare my body and my mind for what is going to take place on, before, or after September 10th, which is my due date. It's helped me feel a little bit of a sense of control over this crazy tornado of your body changing every 5 minutes. You can't control what ends up happening during your labor and delivery, but you can control how you prepare and how equipped you are going into it. If anything, I hope this is beneficial to someone who was in my same shoes 9 months ago, who just feels very overwhelmed by all the unknowns of pregnancy, labor, delivery, and having a baby. So here's all my research. So when your body starts changing and growing a child, things start getting uncomfortable the further along you get. I am 36 weeks right now. Sitting in chairs has become kind of uncomfortable for me, and I can feel baby moving a lot when I'm in an uncomfortable position for them. Now that I am in the home stretch of getting close to labor, it's important being mindful of how you're situating baby and how you're sitting throughout the day, because it can move them in a bad position. If it comes time for labor and baby's in a bad position based on how you've been sitting and standing, it's going to make labor harder. So I'm just trying to be more mindful of how I'm sitting and how baby's responding to how I'm sitting. Really important to keep your hips engaged and open. If you're sitting in a normal chair, it's likely that your knees are going to be above your hips. You want to try to keep your hips above your knees. It just keeps the pelvis and hips more open. So I almost always, if I'm sitting down, like right now I'm sitting at our dining room table, I'm sitting on my birth ball. And if I'm not filming, I'm usually doing a bouncing motion or I'm doing hip circle. First of all, make sure your birth ball is pumped up enough for your height and it's big enough for your height that your hips are able to be higher than your knees. This helps maintain good posture so that one, keeps your core up so you're not putting a lot of pressure on baby, and it keeps your spine and pelvis in a dynamic movement because you're on a fluid surface. Your abdomen kind of becomes a hammock for the baby. This is the birth ball. If I bounce on it too much or I do this too often, then I have Sam put more air in it just because I am taller. So I need to have it pumped up a fair amount in order for it to work for my body. So right now my hips are higher than my knees. I do this most of the day now that I am in the home stretch. My biggest exercise that I repeat are hip circles. Hip circles, just do in both directions. You can do small or large. These are kind of what I do when I'm just sitting one way, then switch to the other way. If you want to do larger ones, you kind of want to have your knees apart, almost like in a side lunge position, and just bring it around town. Beyond that, what I'll do is I'll roll back and then forward, and I'll tuck my stomach in. This helps get pressure off of my pelvic floor, off the baby. Again, your baby's kind of like in a hammock on your abdomen when you're leaning on the birth ball. So it just helps pull the pressure off and it helps train your abdomen for labor and delivery. It's so crazy. I can literally feel the baby's body. It's kind of also reminding me of Amy Poehler in Baby Mama. You know, we all know this scene. Another exercise that I do on the birth ball is side lunges. So you just spread your legs out and side lunge, side to side. This is great for internal rotation on your hips and pelvis. Just helps get baby in the right position and encourages their descent down into the pelvis. Okay, another exercise thing that I do every day are pelvic floor exercises. I've been doing this for the last 2 months. They're pretty much like Kegels, and now that I'm almost at 36 weeks, I've kind of lowered the frequency of how often I'm doing them and have focused more on releasing my pelvic floor because I don't want to be too tight for labor. Essentially what a pelvic floor exercise is clenching your pelvic floor and holding it for 10 seconds, releasing it for another 10, and doing that 10 times. I actually downloaded an app that helps remind me to do this 3 times a day and also walks me through how to do it and when to do it. Keeping with the theme of exercise, I used to do strength training 6 days a week before I got pregnant. I was able to maintain that up until week 29, and I only stopped doing it because I actually ended up going to a chiropractor and they said my hips were completely misaligned and I should stop doing all my strength training exercises and swap it for walks and prenatal yoga. So not to say that strength training isn't great, a lot of women are still able to do it through the duration of their pregnancy. It just wasn't working for me. I have now switched to walks, and I do at least 30 minutes a day. Sometimes I'll start the day off that way and end the day that way. And then prenatal yoga I have been doing since week 30 just to help encourage stretching and preparing my body and hips for doomsday. The last key thing I've been doing for my body movement wise is deep set squats. So I'm gonna show you what that looks like, and I'm gonna try to do it in a dress without revealing too much on the internet. But these are basically low down squats that just move the baby in the perfect position of your birth canal, of your pelvis. And I've only been doing this for the last 3 weeks. I was doing it every day. My midwife told me to stop doing it every day because baby has dropped a little prematurely. Here, just kind of sit in between your knees, shoulders are at your knees. You can put your hands on the floor, you can hold on to something if you need, just really opening up the hips. Going to a chiropractor really changed my comfort in pregnancy, and I think in preparing me for labor, we'll find out. I started going around week 25. I was getting really bad lower back pain to the point where it wasn't comfortable to sit or lay down. So I went in just trying to fix that. Found out that my hips and pelvis were completely misaligned, as was my neck. The chiropractor that I go to uses the Webster method, which is great for pregnancy. It's not invasive at all. It's not your typical like back cracking adjustment. I've been going twice a week, and I've seen a tremendous improvement. I have not had lower back pain since the week I started going. I can just feel baby sitting in a better position. My hip was so tight before that the baby literally couldn't move over to the right hand side. And within 2 weeks of doing my adjustments, baby was able to freely move all over the womb. And I will continue going up until I go into labor. If you're gonna take anything away from this whole video, I would say go to a chiropractor who does the Webster method. It is not scary at all. They focus on just preparing your pelvis and your hips for labor and delivery. I haven't done this yet, but I will likely start doing it at week 37 or 38, evening primrose oil, which is just an oil that you insert vaginally. You can take it orally as well. It just helps soften that area. You can get it at like almost any health food store, but I will likely start doing that at week 38. And it's just important to, when you deposit it, do it at night and then put a pad on because the oil is just going to melt. You will make a mess if you don't wear a pad to collect the excess oil. So cervix softeners, the 2 things that I've been doing to help prep my cervix for labor are red raspberry leaf tea every day. I've been doing red raspberry leaf tea since week 20 of my pregnancy. And the second one is dates. I do not have the recommended 6 dates a day that some people swear by because really it's just too much sugar for me. But I am making sure to get at least 2 dates a day and have been doing that as well since about week 20. Every day I drink red raspberry leaf tea, and I don't just use a tea bag, I do a red raspberry leaf tea infusion. So that means I'm getting as much of the actual herb into the drink as possible, and I'm also mixing it with nettle leaf tea. I've been doing nettle leaf tea since really I found out that I was pregnant per my midwife's recommendation. It's really high in iron and a lot of other vitamins, and just great to support the pregnancy and also great for postpartum. So every day I do an infusion of nettle leaf and red raspberry leaf tea, and I like it cold, so I prepare it the night before and then I put it in the fridge and it's ready. A really strong, potent version of it that's been sitting and diffusing all night, and it's cold and ready for me to drink in the morning. I always add lemon to it because lemon and tea is so delicious. If you want an easier version, this is from Pink Stork. This is a gift from a friend, but it's great. It already has nettle leaf tea and red raspberry in it, along with rosehip, oat straw, and stevia. But this just comes in a little packet. If you're gonna use these, I would recommend using these for like at least 12 hours. Okay, so boiling water. Here's my red raspberry. I just take like a handful and a second handful. I mean, I really go hard on this. This is the nettle leaf tea. I usually just do 1 scoop of that. It's like a teaspoon, a tablespoon. I'm gonna add the boiling water to this, and then I'm gonna let it sit on the counter, come to room temp for the next couple of hours, and then I'll refrigerate it overnight, and I will drink it first thing in the morning. That's how I start my day off. All right, the other thing for cervix softening, the one, the only, dates. I'm not a big date person, but I do like dates in a smoothie. Here's how I try to get dates in every day. Again, my goal is to somehow get 2 or 3 dates. If I get more, that's awesome. First is an RX bar. These are expensive, but they're fabulous. They're a great dessert treat. I love this one. It's the chocolate sea salt brand. And as you can see on the front, they naturally have 2 dates in them. So check if you have one of these for the day. If you do like the way dates taste, and what I'm gonna do for you right now is a tutorial on how to eat a date by itself. I buy the ones with the pit still in them because I'm cheap, but almond butter plus date is a good time. So just take like a little teaspoon, just really lather that on there. I think I just spilled some on the floor, so that will be good. My last and favorite way to eat a date every day is date energy balls. These are the best. This is a recipe my sister shared with me. We call them energy balls. I don't know. I think they're called cocoa almond butter balls on Pinterest, the recipe we got them from. But they're amazing concoction, like a mixture of dates, almonds, vanilla, cocoa powder, sea salt, almond butter. They're really easy to make. You just blend them all up in a food processor. I prefer the Vitamix, and they are fantastic. So I usually have 2 of these for dessert, and they equate to about a date per energy ball. I'll link the recipe down below. I've been diffusing the oils I want to use during labor every day in preparation. I also have a note right here for Sam, so he knows exactly what to diffuse for me during labor. I've been just going ahead and diffusing this combo. Just another way that I'm prepping my senses for labor, so it already has a good, emotional, relaxing memory for me. So as much as I've been preparing my body and my health and wellness for pregnancy and labor and delivery, I've also put a really big focus on how I'm mentally training myself, how I'm spiritually feeding myself every day in preparation for a really intense, hard battle. Like I said earlier, it's a marathon and you wouldn't show up to it unprepared. And I think the hardest feat that we have as women in labor is overcoming fear of things going wrong with our body, with our baby. So I've just really tried to speak truth to myself and pray over this every day leading up to what's going to happen in a couple of weeks. One of the spiritual tools I have ready for labor, other than the verses that I shared with you guys, is Christian hypnobirthing. Now, before you think I'm even more of a crazy hippie, it is not what it sounds like. It's mainly just meditation and prayer that are audio tracks as a tool to be used during labor, also for you to prepare and listen to in the weeks and months leading up to it. I've been listening to the tracks since about week 20. So here on this page are all of the labor tracks on the Christian Hypnobirthing app. It is an Australian woman speaking scripture and truth over you, and it is my favorite thing to do every day. I either lay down, listen to the tracks, maybe while I'm trying to fall asleep. I go on walks or play it in the background in the kitchen while I'm prepping food for the day. It is, I think, going to be my biggest tool during labor for relaxing my mind and getting rid of any fears. So the app has 9 tracks ranging from breathing exercises to encouraging scriptures to visualization techniques. My favorite is the encouraging scriptures, 15 minutes of a woman speaking scripture.
Matthew 19:26. Jesus looked at them and said, "With man this is impossible, but with God all things are possible."
Sarah, who is the narrator of this, goes through countless scriptures and just speaks them over you in a really calm way with like some nice meditation music in the background. Another really great tool on this app is the breathing exercise track, and this walks you through how to breathe through contractions and how to breathe baby down. And I was told from another woman who had the same midwife as me in a birth ed class, she passed on the wisdom of practicing the breathing exercises before contractions and labor start. So the best breathing technique for labor is breathing in for 4 seconds and out for 7.
In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
And the breathing out, breathing baby down and just learning how to channel your breath energy down your body through to your birth canal. Okay, so I knew nothing about pregnancy, labor, delivery, babies before getting pregnant. Started doing a bunch of research to try to figure out as much as I could. One of the really helpful tools that I used in preparation for this was listening to a podcast called Birthful, Birthful. And it's this amazing woman who interviews a lot of experts in the pregnancy, postpartum, and labor field who just share their experiences. So whether that's them going through birth stories or giving nutrition advice, labor advice, so much helpful information. This podcast really helped me feel more empowered and knowledgeable in what my body is doing and going through and what I'm going to be doing in a few weeks. In that same vein, another really helpful tool is BirthTube, which is a website kind of like YouTube but just birth videos, and I've watched countless birth videos just to prepare again my mind for what my own body is about to be doing and seeing other women bravely bring their babies into the world, just to familiarize myself with what that looks like. And if it's one that I find really inspiring or helpful, I'll make sure to show Sam as well. That way his first birth experience isn't in the room with me, but that he has kind of an idea of what we're walking into as well. And I've watched a wide array of birth videos, hospital births, VBACs, C-sections, unmedicated, all of them. Because like I said in my last video, I have no idea what kind of birth I'm gonna have. So just trying to equip myself with as many videos and ideas of what it's gonna look like as possible. I also made a playlist on Spotify that I'm going to hopefully be playing on our speaker system throughout my labor. I can link it below. I do think it's extremely personal, like what music you have an emotional connection to. So I would encourage you not to just go find someone else's playlist and play that. It's really important to play into your senses during this time. So that's why I'm being intentional about what scents are going to be used, what I'm going to be hearing in tandem with the Christian hypnobirthing. I'm going to be playing this music. We're going to end the video there. Outros are just as hard as intros. I'm sure I left out a million things, and there are some things that I'm probably not doing that I should be doing, and things that I am doing that might not benefit me at all, but I'm doing the best with what I know. Once again, I'm not an expert, but this is what I'm doing. Take it or leave it. I hope this helped someone. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe, and hopefully I have more content coming soon. Bye guys.